September 2025 marks 4 years since I started summer school electronics. So, what I think that means is I now have a bachelor's degree in summer school. So, I brought out all the pedals that I have that I could find that are on these table. I printed off some notes, and I'm going to tell you everything that I can remember about the first 4 years of summer school electronics, when things were released, how many we have, why things were discontinued, all sorts of stuff. So, if you're curious about the early days of a pedal company, specifically this one, this is the video for you. So we'll start with even before we started the company. This is like the prelude in the book, you know. Uh, so in July 2020, during COVID, I was home. My band wasn't playing gigs. There were no kids to teach. 'Cause school had ended for the year. Started building pedals, and just to kind of kill time. I knew nothing about building pedals. I never built one before. I bought a kit, put it together. It didn't work. I fixed it. I got another kit. A couple friends asked me to build them pedals. So I would build some pedals for friends to fund building more pedals for me. And a lot of them kind of ended up looking like this. So a lot of my early pedals were just the very, very early ones were spray painted enclosures. And then I got powder coated enclosures because I couldn't spray paint in the winter when it was snowing out here. We would use plastic knobs like a lot of pedal builders do, and I would use stamps for the artwork on them. And I think I did probably about 120 of these during the early days, during that first year learning, and a bunch of different circuits. And that was kind of my education into how to build pedals and just what things do, what I like, what I don't like, just the process of actually building them. I think this one was a Big Muff that I made. I would do orders for friends and see what I could make, and then I would make like a dozen pedals, and quarterly I would just post them on Reverb. So if you ever bought a blank clone pedal on Reverb or even on Etsy, I think I did that for a while. If you check inside the back of it, if it says MLT and then has a number after it, I probably made it. Because I think I didn't even have a name. Yeah, there was no summer school. It was just the date and then MLT and whatever number pedal I was. So if it was MLT 008, it was the 8th pedal I ever made. So that's how I started. And then fast forward to the summer of 2021 was when I decided I want to make stuff that's my own. And I wanted to invest a little bit more. I wanted to add stuff like higher quality knobs, LED bezel, and have them UV printed instead of just hand stamped and look a little bit more official. And I was getting into modding, and I started making my own pedals that I wanted to do. So the first one we did, make sure I have these all here, was the Gust Drive. And so this is one of the prototypes that we made in August of 2021. And then once I had prototypes working, we did we launched the company in September of 2021. So I kind of did a rough mock-up of this in like Microsoft Word or something, and I sent it to Steve, who was my buddy for 25 years, and he was doing all the t-shirts for our band at the time. And I was like, hey, picture my dog, can you put it on a pedal? And so this was the prototype that we had made up. And once we did it, neither of us really knew what we were doing. We were kind of figuring it out. So for the prototype, we realized that like the foot switch is blocking the logo on the bottom, and some of the text on the knob the text is being obscured by the knobs. So when we did the first production run, I think we initially did 12, but we had gotten like 13 pre-orders. So then we did another run of like 20 of them. And those look like this. So there's about 30 something of these in the wild. The knobs are super, super high. The LED is in the middle, and the brand logo on the bottom is in the middle. So there's like, 30 something of these. And then for a run after that, we did, I don't know if I have one here. I think we switched where the bark and howl and the knobs were. So instead of being under the knobs, the labels were on top, and we did a short run of those. But during that time, I was starting to play. This is all like September, October of 2021. I started playing with our next pedal, which would have been the Gladys. And on this one, I had to put the toggle switch in the middle. So I wanted them to be uniform. So we couldn't keep the LED on top if this one was going to have a toggle switch on top. So we changed these. So the third version of it that we still have today has the LED in the bottom corner. And this is the most common Gus drive. So we have, let me put it on the camera right there. So yeah, that's the most common one that we have that we still make today, with the LED on the bottom. So kind of went through, and we learned a lot just from being like prototype, and then the first run, and then we did the final run down there. So took a couple months, but I mean, that's how you learn, right? So that was Gus Drive, and then by November 2021, checking my notes, I wanted to do a pedal for my other dog Gladys. So Gus was like a high gain drive, and I needed a low gain because when I would play shows with my band, I would have two different gain settings. So Gladys was my take on like a blues breaker, kind of a low medium gain. Had this extra switch here to add some hard clipping compression diodes. Sounds great. Those two pedals together are like my sound. I use it for everything, and I love those pedals together. So Gladys came out Black Friday, and that was November. So then around December 2021, a friend said, hey, I really like the Gladys pedal, but I don't know Gladys. My dog's name is Porky. Can you do a Porky pedal? And that opened the idea of like, can we do customs for other people's pets? We're like, yeah, we'll figure it out. Send me a picture. So in December of 2021 is we did our first custom order pet pedals, which we still do right now. There's a whole form on our site. And they pick different knob colors and case colors and LED colors and send us pictures of their pet. And we do that. So that's how we ended 2021. Then starting into 22, we went with this guy. In February, we released the Bootster Booster, which has kind of become a little legendary character in our story of a company. Bootster Booster started as a transistor boost that I had made for a friend, and I put a wrong value resistor in for one part, and it made it sound loud but also like super bright and like gainy, and I was like, that's interesting. So I started playing with it, and we added the twang knob, this red knob down here that could make it brighter. So the idea was your boost knob was like your pre-gain of your amp. It's like how hard you're driving the transistor. The volume knob was your output. So if you really liked a certain tone but just wanted it louder or softer, you had your volume. And the twang was adding that brightness. So it gave all these controls. And I thought it was really fun. We did a bunch of videos with Steve voicing Bootster, explaining a bunch of stuff that we did. And it was made for when I'd play in a band with another guitar player and I went to take a solo, we didn't want to start a volume war. So we would work it where I could set this to be like right at unity or maybe a little above, but up the twang. So when I turned it on, you would pop in the EQ, but you wouldn't drown out the other player. It was a super helpful pedal, super great tool that just saved us from a lot of fights. So we did this for a while. I think we made 50 of these, I'm pretty sure. And then it was discontinued, and I'll get into that story later. And it later came back in the extra credit boost. So there's a little homage to this in here. But this was February of 2022 is when this came out. So we had 2 drive pedals and a boost in our line. During this time, we were doing short runs. We would only make like 20 of a pedal, And then if it started to get low, I'd order 20 more. Like I wasn't going too crazy with ordering. And I wanted to really have a line. Like didn't want to just have fuzz or just have boost. I wanted to change some stuff. So that gets us to in March of 2022, we introduced this guy, the Stone Thrower Fuzz. I've told the story before in Syracuse, New York, where I live. There's a Irish neighborhood, and they have an upside down traffic light. And 100 years ago, a bunch of kids would throw rocks at it. They wanted to knock out the red over the green, and the city put a green one on top, and it just became a local legend. So when I made a fuzz, I was like, we'll do this. I had the traffic light on it. We released it on St. Patrick's Day that year, and it was our fuzz pedal for a good time. We made 50 of them, I think. I'm pretty sure it's 50. And then we discontinued this when we made some newer fuzz pedals I'll talk about. And we occasionally bring it back with a version 2 and limited runs on St. Patrick's Day. So keep an eye out for those if you're into that. So at this point, we had the 2 drive pedals, we had the boost pedal, we had the Stone Thrower Fuzz. And then in April of 2022, I wanted to release a delay pedal, so we made the Snow Day Delay, which is 2 delays in one. It's the PT 2399 karaoke chip. I really liked the idea of having an on and off switch, and you could switch between 2 delay times. And everybody I showed the prototype to kept asking, can it do 2 delays at once? And I said no. And they said it should do 2 delays at once. So I had to rebuild the entire circuit to make it work, and that's why it has blizzard mode up here that you can click on and off, and it'll play both delays at once at the same time, and it will add like a saturation to the delays because you're overloading the chip, or it can do them in parallel, so you get almost like a ping pong. It's a mono ping pong type thing with both delays. It's super fun. I use this delay all the time. I think it's great to play shows and have your short delay and your long delay, and you look down here and be like, oh, I use blue light for my short delay, yellow light for my long delay, and it's just really easy to look down and be like, oh, I want the other one. Click, play the next song. So I think this is great. I love this delay pedal. Where are we going now? That got us through April and into the summer of 2022. Oh, let me pause to preface this one. So at this point in time, I'm figuring out what this company is. It's a whole fun, crazy thing. And then I had some people who were incredibly supportive. Friends who were ordering custom pedals. I had friends who were just picking up every release that we did. They were incredibly supportive. I wouldn't have been able to do this without these handful of people who are great. So I was going through my list, and I had I think it was about 10 people who had at this point purchased like 3 pedals from me. Like, didn't ask for a deal or discount, just were incredibly supportive. So I went through my list, and I was like, hey, these people, buy 3, get 1 free. So I had to come up with something that I wanted to gift these people as a thank you for supporting my company. So I started tinkering with stuff that I had on my desk, because this is still 2022. So we're kind of getting out of COVID here, and supply chains are just starting to recover, but things are still kind of a mess. So I'm digging through my desk, finding what I can find, and I put together a pedal called the Trash Panda. Like I said, I'm digging through trying to find stuff, so I sort of felt like the raccoon digging through the garbage trying to find all the parts. So for these friends, I actually made pink enclosures. So still had the green knobs, green LED, but the enclosures were pink. There's only, I think, 10 of them, and they were gifted to the people in that first year who bought 3 pedals, and as a thank you. But I really enjoyed that circuit, and it was just a really cool, different thing. It's sort of like a big muff, but it's more drive than fuzz, so it's like a less muffy muff. So I was like, well, we should make it available too. So the pink ones went to those early supporters, and then the gray enclosure is the standard run. This is what we've been selling since that time on our site. And gets us to August, which is kind of our first real year. We kind of run like a school year, like September to September. So within the first year of launching this company, we had released the Gus Drive, and then we had Gladys version 1, and then we had the Bootster. I'm running out of hands here. And then St. Patrick's Day was coming up, so we had to do the Stone Thrower, and then the snow was coming out, so I had to release the Snow Day Delay before it stopped snowing here. Stay right there. And then we put out the Trash Panda, and this was kind of our first year of a company. And now I'll get into year number 2.